Hello, everyone, and welcome to our inaugural broadcast on Steve 55. My name is Namdi, and I have with me here uh, Lutumbi. Yeah, am I
That's
correct?
correct.
Yeah, Lutumbi
Yeah.
from Steve 55. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is our inaugural broadcast from the organization known as Steve 55. We were going to be having regular broadcasts where we're going to be discussing issues affecting concerning the organization and also on the African continent. But I'll allow Mutumbi to talk. So Mutumbi, over to you. Can you tell us
Thank you.
can you tell us about Stick 55?
Yeah, Namdi, first of all, may I thank you for your persistent work. It's great to discuss with the continent and the diaspora. My name's Alutombi Kawana. I am the Group Chief Executive Officer of State 55 Group. State 55 Group is the commercial arm of State 55, the organization. Some people will call it State 55 Africa, but we are State 55. I have been part of this organization this is my third year, and I also double as the advisor. I'm the advisor to the State 55 executive. That includes the president and also the executive committee. State 55, as you know, is a Pan-African organization bringing together Africa. I think by now, whether you're a Pan-Africanist or not, you know that Africa has actual interests. Okay, if you take statistics, 2020-2019 statistics, you'll find out that out of the global economy, Africa is lagging behind. We only control 1.8% of output of the global economy. The global economy is around what I think is 142 trillion US dollars. Out of this, China controls 19%, the US controls 15%, and Africa is a paltry 1.8%. So now, State 55 is trying to ensure that every African, young and old, can understand that the reason we are that far at the bottom is because we need to get our act together. We need to synergize Africa so that every African can start to benefit from African resources and Africa's partners. So maybe I can just go a little further and say that since it was formed, State 55 is now active in quite a number of countries. We are in the process of formalizing country chapters, and we are also in the process of appointing some vice presidents. We have two vice presidents for West African region and Southern African region, but we are remaining with Central Africa, East Africa, and North Africa for vice presidents, whom I believe will be appointed before the end of the year. If you notice, the countries are around 55 of them, and our regions are roughly in the region of 11 to 13 countries, following those blocks of North Africa, West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, and Southern Africa. We have immense potential. We have immense potential as a continent, and therefore, what Five is attempting to do is to make sure that all citizens of Africa recognize the potential, and then also they can see the practical steps that State 5 is trying to bring about. So we want, although we have borders, and remember these borders were forced on us by the 1884 Berlin Conference, and Africans had very to do or say about borders. As a result, they have 4 to 55 countries, which each of them have to negotiate in this world, whether it's in the political level, trade level, and so on. weakening each country. I think we've heard from various speakers become prominent who have talked about how can a big power negotiate with a country like Djibouti. So we need to come together in order for Africa to start championing its own interests. Um, so since we now have 5 regions, we have targets for these regions to ensure that each of those regions have countries that are registered locally in their countries. And once we get to that, then our target of membership will now move to a particular number, which the Exco will decide and advise each of those regions. I think for now, Namdi, maybe you can give me a bit more direction so that I can say a little more.
Okay, so yeah, thanks. I mean, thanks for that, Timbi. I mean, gives an insight on how the structure for C55. Um, but if I was to ask, why C55? Why do you think the organization was formed, and what was the basis for it?
Okay, firstly, there's been a lot of Pan-African organizations. I'll even call it a plethora of Pan-African organization. But State 55 is quite unique because of its emphasis that all the 55 states are included. You will notice that there are 54, but we are calling the diaspora the 55th nation. So we are insisting that every African belongs to State 55, even without membership. Because when we are fighting for these things to happen, for Africa to come together, it means even those who are against it will eventually benefit from it. State 55 has a master plan for Africa, and we are looking at bringing Africa together on several fronts. Let me give you one example.
Okay.
Africa, for example, does not have an intelligence network for Africa. So Zambia and Malawi are neighbors, but we do not have a formal structure that allows Malawi to exchange intelligence with Zambia, except on a bilateral basis. The proper way would be to have a central intelligence network where the whole of Africa relies on that. But let me give you another example. For those of you who've been to London, I can't remember what street, but on one of those streets you find 20 embassies from Africa. That's a duplication of costs. Okay, when we could have had one unit, maybe Africa House, which would rationalize the expenses but still cater for the African interest. So there are a lot of things that Africa can benefit from by coming together. There are some things which are in the pipeline, which we are doing. Just to answer your question, why State 55? We are trying to create a synergy where Africans will be able to exchange information, handle employment matters, have exploit opportunities intra-Africa. You see, at the moment, I don't know whether Namdi will share my view. At the moment, a lot of Africans think an investor should be someone who flies in with a briefcase with a different color.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, it's a very wrong assumption.
Yeah.
Namdi, you should be the investor I should target. You should say
Exactly.
Namdi should come to Zambia because there are some opportunities. Namdi should go to Angola. Because we need to kill this thing of saying that if we're going to do an oil deal, it has to be a sheikh wearing a turban or some person looking in a certain way. No, Africans should be able to do this. We must create a scenario where I wouldn't use the word favor because favor is not probably it reflects something, but I would say that we should give preference to the indigenous people. If an economy is owned by the majority of the economy is owned by indigenous people, the benefits go to the people. I have started championing. You will notice that my title is Group Chief Executive Officer of State 55 Group, which is the commercial side. I have started championing that we should now have the term of local direct investment rather than foreign direct investment. In any place, there will be people with money. But if the government, for example, here in Africa, tries to favor people in Australia, but you're leaving your own people within, it's ridiculous. So we need, as Africa, we need to come together and say, where is the money? Where are the opportunities? Can we bring these things together and make sure we tap into that? For example, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is a rich nation from a natural resource point of view. The Congo, I call it the richest country in the world, but it has the poorest citizens in the world. Now, I recently challenged a friend of mine in the US who is a mathematician. I said to him, I think you know him, it's Baruti Katembo. He happens to be a mathematician. I said to him, I said, look, Baruti, I think this formula has gone on long enough. We can't have in the formula that the poor person in the formula is always an African. When are we going to change this so that the African is the wealthy person and others are trying to negotiate with him like it was in the Mansa Musa times, when he could lend to nations, when Africans could run Spain, when our kings were kings, not chiefs. Okay, so we need to look inwards and say, what can we bring together in order to birth what I would call a new trajectory for a wealthy African. So to the young people, this must be an exciting time. Come and join State 55 in order for us to come together. Even if you are in Niger, we want you to exploit opportunities in Addis Ababa. Whether you're in South Africa, we want you to exploit opportunities in Cameroon. We need to make sure this divide is completely extinguished and we start favoring ourselves. The other countries, the other continents can take care of themselves. They've been exploiting us enough. They've exploited us for 400 years. What a head start. Okay, so I am excited to sit here and say, I know Africa is full of young people. In fact, we are in a stronger position than Asia. We have much younger people than China has. And all these young people, all they're waiting for is to be given opportunities. Let me say one more thing. We also must recalibrate our education system, because our education system should focus on benefits. What's the use of learning about Vasco da Gama, who exploited our territories many, many years ago? We can train somebody on how to manufacture something without going through 12, 15 years of school, because we know that school is expensive. So we need to recalibrate our education system to focus on our needs. Okay, yes, we should not deter people going all the way up to being professor, but we must make sure that the people who get educated are able to apply their education on benefiting Africa. We don't want people who just churn out statistics and that can't impact the livelihood of our African brothers and sisters. So I hope the young people, you can get excited and join us. This is really the time for us to start thinking differently. COVID has shown how this country is completely and how this world is completely unprepared to deal with the crisis. But the resilience of Africa is always very, very impressive. I have not really had an official report of COVID because of vested interest, I believe. But I think we fared extremely well over this COVID disease. So again, God favors us. So why don't we start favoring ourselves? I think that's the challenge to the young people. Come up, get up, stand up, and fight for your Africa and God-given wealth. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it's obvious that 65 is an organization that we really need to watch out for on the African continent, and provides solutions to some of the challenges, or a lot of the challenges that we face. One final question Um, what would you say are the next steps for 75? What are the next steps and things that we need to watch out?
Yeah, as advisor, as advisor to the executive, I have strongly urged the organization to focus on the membership drive. We need the membership drive to grow. Rather, we need the membership drive to take off so that the membership can grow to levels of beyond 1 million members and so on. To put it in perspective, we have 1.3 billion Africans. Okay, it would be good to create an institution that is formidable. So 1 million is a drop in the ocean when you talk about 1.2 billion people. Okay, so the next step is really to make sure we galvanize the membership, and this membership starts to contribute to its own success. Because if we have contributors to State 55, then we now also start talking about the commercial side. On the commercial side, we have a lot of exciting opportunities that are lined up. Before COVID and COVID-19, we were planning to have an investment conference, which was slated for somewhere mid this year, but it caught us flat-footed, and we therefore had to defer. However, we have begun discussing a possible electronic, and I hope you facilitate it for us. We want to have an electronic conference, which might last us 3 days, or even it is across Africa. I hope you were able to still hear me. I think there was a disruption. I don't know whether you were able to hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just talking about going forward, what we as a State 55 group, what we are focusing on. So this year we should still have, not this year, probably early next year, we will have a conference, but for this time it will be a virtual conference. We're just trying to look at opportunities across Africa. So we are also creating some intelligence units, which will give us economic data for countries. The FTA rather, the
AFCTA.
the free the
AFCTA.
free the free trade agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a great first step by the African Union. We are impatient. The younger people are generally impatient. The younger people are telling us, look, we can't wait for 2063. So we appreciate what the AU is doing, but we are throwing it back to the young people that you lead. The AU has given guidance. You lead. If we can achieve if we can achieve our interactions as local populations, between countries, if we can cross country, we can move from one country to another. We don't have to wait for 2063 to get those benefits. So the people themselves can start leading, and then AU will be able to double up and back us up. That is the main development. We expect that we will have investment in a number of areas. We are talking about the transport area, housing area, infrastructure generally. We will also be talking about manufacturing, agro processing, quite a number of things. We want to deepen, because see what is happening right now is every African country wants to talk about exporting. But what about intra-trade? What opportunities can someone in Angola exploit in Tanzania? Someone in Tanzania exploit in Ivory Coast, and so on. We also need to bridge the divide between the Francophone countries and the Anglophone countries. That we are now the AU endorsed Swahili as a proposed continental language. We want to make sure that all brothers and sisters on the continent can start speaking in one language. It's no harm knowing French and English, but let's also have a language which we can easily communicate with each other. So I hope that countries in the long run will say Swahili should be the third or fourth language for every country. Regions can also have their own languages. I'm aware that Nigeria has quite a number of languages. For example, I think the Hausa. You have quite a family. I hope I have given you a bit of light on which direction.
Yeah,
But in the
you
coming days and weeks, yeah, in the
you've
coming days and
definitely,
weeks, we can dwell on some of those aspects. But I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I'm always available to tap in. I hope that we can also have a roundtable discussion, which will involve people from different parts of Africa, so that we start undoing this myth. We must undo this myth that an African is, in fact, I must say, an African is capable of a lot. We have resilience. We are generally honest people. We are hardworking. We have the resources. So Africa, go Africa. Don't listen to the wrong voices. Make sure you go and
yeah,
get it. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you. Like you, Lutumbe. It's been really impactful and exciting listening to you.
Thank you.
I'm particularly excited about C55 and what it offers for the continent, and I'm sure our viewers are too. Like I stated earlier on, this is our inaugural broadcast, so we'll be having series of broadcasts in the coming days and weeks as we begin to unpackage on the organization C55 and what it offers for the continent. Thank you again also for today's inaugural
Okay,
broadcast.
thank you, Namdi. Anytime, just let me know. I'm ready. At just one call, and I'm available. Thank you very much.
All right, and to our viewers, watch out. All right,
Thank
until
you.
we meet again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
All right.